What's up guys? Today's topic is, what's your biggest fail when it comes to online dating? Please consider subscribing if you enjoy the video. Met with a girl at a bar in Philadelphia on a Friday night around 6 p.m. It was fun and we drank a lot, but I noticed that she was pacing much faster than me. I had around 4 beers in the time it took her to drink 7 martinis, $15 a glass. We are getting along well and she says that she needs to use the restroom. She took her jacket and purse to the restroom. I didn't think much of it, but after an hour of sitting at the bar alone waiting I realized that I got used for a heavy pregame. The bartender kinda realized it. When I asked for the tab he shrugged and was like, "Shit happens mate. I took 2 drinks off your tab." I was talking to a girl who mentioned that she was into photography and I asked her to send me some pics. She thought I was asking for nudes, so she deleted and blocked me. I met with this very attractive woman off upper middle class Tinder Bumble. She was way hotter than me. At some point during the evening, she leans forward on her bar stool, narrows her eyes and goes, "I know there was some reason I swiped right on you," because at this point she could not remember. Someone, without a profile pic, messaged me out of nowhere saying she didn't like typing on her phone, so do I want to meet up for breakfast someday. I generally only go out with people I've talked to for a bit before but her profile said she worked in psychology and I've usually gotten along well with psychologists in previous dating, so what the hell, right? So we schedule a time at a nearby restaurant and, of course, she just doesn't show up. Fortunately I just gave up after 20 minutes. She apologizes later in the day, mentions she overslept her alarm and offers to make it up to me by going out for coffee in the evening. For whatever reason I agreed. I get to the cafe and sure enough I'm waiting another 20 minutes past the time we were supposed to be there. Though this time she texts me she's on her way just as I was leaving, so another 20 minutes and she's there. Surprisingly she was pretty physically attractive, but that's kind of where the attraction ended. Over the course of the date she continuously nagged me about everything I said she didn't believe there was an opioid epidemic and I was an idiot for thinking there was, said she didn't believe mental illnesses were real, and you could just get over them if you tried hard enough. Revealed she wasn't a psychologist. She just had a psychology degree and was an Uber driver and a grocery cashier. That she had 2 kids, but that I didn't need to worry about them. I didn't need to worry about the kids, because the courts took away her custody of them and gave it to her parents. I don't need to worry that she was still married, because her husband was in jail and they were in process of divorce, and spent a significant amount of time complaining about how messed up the courts are to think she's unfit to be a mother. Now, all this wasn't my biggest online dating mistake. The actual mistake came when she mentioned she'd really love to meet my dog and play with him. I'm a bit naive sometimes in dating situations, so I thought my dog loves people, so it would be nice if him getting to play with someone new came out of this train wreck of a night. Needless to say, she was not interested in playing with my dog. When we get back she pretty completely much ignored my dog entirely and kept trying to pull me onto the bed. I use a giant bin bag for a bed and it's in the living room. I'm weird. I wasn't interested though. I've been in relationships with unstable people and it's not worth it. But she wouldn't stop. Kept undressing more and more, was getting frustrated at me just standing near the door. I kept politely mentioning that I was tired and needed to work in the morning, so it's probably best if she left. But she refused. She kept saying she was too tired to drive back home and she needed to take a nap here. Given she seemed unstable and I was realizing the gravity of my mistake, I said that was fine and set an alarm for her. Though of course when the alarm went off she still refused to leave, so I ended up with the nude, mentally unstable woman passed out on my bin bag while I sat in a chair hunched over my laptop working all night, so she wouldn't try anything. Fortunately in the morning she did leave. A few days later I got a really angry text from her, because my dating profile was still up and apparently she thought we were in love now. I told her I didn't feel the same. Fortunately she didn't remember what apartment I was in, and I'd mentioned it in passing to the leasing officers. A few weeks later they mentioned someone fitting her description had asked for which apartment I lived in. Agreeing to meet someone with the topless profile pic. My god, he was vain. Her husband. You have no idea how many neglected wives are out there online and they love to admit the fact that they have husbands. Watch out for the MILFs. She'll break your heart and her husband will break your neck. Putting all my eggs in one basket. Once I start a conversation with one person, I just stick with that person until I know it's not going to go anywhere. I can't deal with trying to remember stuff about 2+ people at the same time. I don't mind though if the person I'm talking to is talking to more than one person, as long as if we're on a date, they're not on the phone to them or mix us up. I matched a girl who looked really cool and complimented her hair. She responded with something along the lines of, "I'm so glad you messaged me." Most of these guys just match and never message. I've seen almost exactly the same line before from bots, so I assumed she was a bot and said something snarky about it. She replied, upset, and then unmatched me. Not being exciting or witty enough in the text game, in real life my expressions and demeanor save me, not so much online. Chatted with them a year by phone. Once we met we had nothing to talk about and it was the most awkward encounter of my life. She was being flirty, but I just kept asking, "How's your day going? What are you up to?" and other generic questions until she stopped and never messaged me back. Oh man, the first time I contacted someone, it was via the Onion personals, which were really a thing in 2005. I just made fun of a band she said she liked. I wrote something like, "My only problem is that you are into band." She replied, as she should have, "My only problem is that the only thing you offer is a criticism." I still cringe. Dated a guy who was in a Poli-C PhD program, confirmed, who had a law degree, confirmed, but had left practice because he didn't enjoy it. Nope, had been arrested for a federal hate crime as a neo-Nazi and was ineligible to practice. Thank God for Google. Matched with someone on a dating website, before Tinder, got to talking, seemed like a chill dude, even though there were red flags. He insisted we were dating before we met and I wasn't allowed to talk to anyone. Agreed to meet up with him at a cafe by work, organized with my receptionist. She would ring me at an allotted time and tell me I had to come back to work, so I had an out, met with the guy for coffee. It seemed well enough. Then my girl rang me, so I told him I had to get back. His response was, "I've got my work van here. Do you want to jump in the back and have a quickie?" I noped out of there and went back to work. A couple of months later he ended up coming into my work to see my boss. I made polite small talk with him, then when he left my boss called me into her office to ask how I knew him. Turned out he was married to my boss's niece and I dodged a freaking bullet. Update: sorry to leave you all hanging. Boss believed me, and we never spoke of it again. I was too embarrassed to raise the subject again, because I keep my private life private, and her, because I assumed she kept that shit between her and her niece. My boss was also a black belt in jiu-jitsu, so not the person to frick with. Yes, I should have known better when he got possessive straight out the gate, but I was young, insecure, and lonely. It's not a crime to want to be wanted, but good lord was I a naive fool. Not trying it sooner. At the end of the day, we're all just people looking to connect and share a Netflix account. Using Plenty of Fish, the free dating site. It was like the Netto of dating sites. I chatted briefly with one woman before telling her I was going out for a few drinks. Next day I checked my messages and she had sent some. It started with, "Why don't you come round to mine and get drunk together?" Progressing to, "Why are you ignoring me?" Then to, "I think you're gorgeous and we will be good together," and finally, "Don't you freaking ignore me." I sent her a message the next day to never contact me again. I thought I had a pretty sick pickup line, which was, "You're so cute you make a baby deer look like a pile of shit." Needless to say, I'm still single. Went on a date with a girl from Tinder one time who told me that she found children very attractive. After that I stopped mentioning that I had a child on my profile, and took down the pic of me and my daughter, and just brought it up with the girls that I felt were likely to stick around after meeting in person. I was 18, just registered to Tinder, because I wanted to get my first girlfriend and stuff. Then I matched with this beautiful girl from Switzerland. She is staying in the city for 2 days and want to meet at her hotel to have a fun time during the afternoon. My 18-year-old self didn't see anything fishy in that. So 30 minutes later I'm at her fancy hotel waiting for her to come down to pick me up, but she says she is waiting for her mum to leave. So I wait for about 20 minutes and I see an old man checking out of his window. So I text the girl that there was a creepy old man being afraid that I was going to rob the hotel or something. 10 minutes later she tells me that another dude is arriving and that she invited him before me, but he couldn't come, so she invited me after. So we would have to decide between the two of us who would get the girl. I saw the guy arriving, a handsome looking, mid-20 guy, and so I started to explain the situation to him and that we should just play rock paper scissors or something and not think too much about it. And he accepted. I was so surprised. He lost. I won and left without a word. The girl then tells me that in the end her mum isn't leaving, so we cannot meet. I text her it's okay and wish her a good end of holidays and that maybe we will meet in Switzerland one day, who knows. 20 minutes later I receive a text from the girl telling me that in fact she was a dude. The old dude that I saw looking out of his window. He was a retired man with no real hobby and had fun doing this kind of thing and watching sometimes dudes even fighting to get to frick his fake profile. He never told anyone, but me. Because I didn't insult him and I resolved the problem with the other guy pretty simply so he knew that I wouldn't get mad at him if he told me. After that I talked to him for an hour about how he should find another hobby like gaming, reading or something, and after that we never talked again. I felt really sad for him in the end, because he didn't have any family or friends. But all this was really fricked up. Since then I never tried to meet an online girl directly at her hotel. Finding a wonderful guy and then cancelling the date last minute. Because I wasn't over my ex. Joke's on me. We rematched 10 months later. He gave me shit about my behavior last time and told me because of that I had to come up with an idea now. March will mark our 1-year anniversary. Most of the fails are typical not super hot guy problems. Almost no matches or messages. Depending on the site. The biggest fail in my ex. We spent 5.5 years together. I was super supportive of her. Getting her on her feet in life. Covering expenses for the first 2 years until she stabilized. Helped her find her first job. Helped her through college. Helped her get her first job after college. Helped her with her first job after college. But then the moment I start struggling with money, finding a job, we moved across the country for the one she got. She kicks me out. I was struggling for a while. About a year, a month after she kicked me out, I managed to land a job. Good times. Make profile. 0 matches. Give up and delete. Wait 1-2 years. Make profile. No matches. Give up and delete. Now that 100% of the platforms lock you out of messaging unless you've been matched first, online dating is pretty much dead to me. For the last 5 years, my biggest Tinder fail was when people would look at my profile and see that I am Asian and then not read the very first thing that I've written, which is the time 5 minutes and 10 seconds, 1.77 meters, and then they would be shocked when I show up at or above eye level. One person had the gall to tell me he had a great time, but I really thought you were more, petite, while gesturing at my figure and then compacting it. That is no longer the worst thing to come out of Tinder. A few months ago I went on a date with a self-proclaimed communist. He said this loudly, in a Chinese restaurant. When asked what kind of communist philosophy he was drawn by, he replied, "Oh, normal communism. Not North Korea communism," and all I could think of was how most communist countries were totalitarian regimes who starved their people and wondered if this is what he meant by normal. He proceeded douse the stir-fry we ordered with chili oil. Instead of partitioning off a serving for himself and seasoning that, it stood out to me as a particularly classless cherry on top of a heaping shit sundae. Please subscribe if you like the video. It really helps the channel to grow. Adios.